For years, Switch owners have wanted a good racing sim or just a good racing game in general. Mario Kart is certainly one thing, but it doesn't have actual cars in it. Until recently, the closest we've gotten to that are the Gear Club Unlimited games, the first of which was heavily criticized for being a port of a mobile game, and although the second did improve a lot of things, it was missing online multiplayer at launch, and to this day, it still has a lot of heavy input lag. And so hope was put on the next game announced for the Switch, a port of a PS3 and 360 racing game made by Codemasters. Part of the Grid series and a game I'm very impressed with so far. Here is my review of Grid Autosport for the Nintendo Switch. When it comes to gameplay, this is a racing game with simulation aspects to it. It's not as casual as an arcade racer, but it's not as super professional and realistic as a simulation game like Gran Turismo or Forza. Diving right in, let's go into game modes, which the game has a lot of. You've got career mode that has a lot of different racing class campaigns, and you've also got some quick modes like Quick Cup and Quick Race if you just want to do one little thing instead of a whole career mode, or if you just want to go through a race with a very specific vehicle. While we're on the topic of game modes, let's talk about multiplayer because it's currently missing from the game. The developers are still working on bringing the multiplayer features over to the Switch version, so at least for now, it is only a single player game. Of course, the biggest of these game modes is career mode. When you start a career, you go into an event type or group like endurance that is geared towards a specific type of vehicle. You can then choose teams to join during that career and do race events to fulfill objectives and win races to earn experience for that class. All of these racing events are also set up like a sim game. Once you load each event, you can go straight into the race, but you can also do a few other things like tuning your vehicle or taking part in practice and qualifying races to help you adjust to your new vehicle and the track you're racing on. And unlike other sim games that force you to go through all of the practice and qualifying events before each race, Grid makes these qualifying and practice events completely optional, so you can do them if you want to, or you can go straight into the race. Now, just like other racing games, winning all of these racing events is very important, and that's because of the experience system I mentioned earlier. Every career type or class has its own leveling system, and the more you level up by winning events, the more careers you unlock, both in that class and overall. And this is really where the game's main objective starts to show itself. There are a bunch of different classes in career mode, but the final one has to be unlocked by playing the others. The quote-unquote Grid series requires you to be at least level 3 in all other career types before it will unlock and let you play through it. Considering how this review has gone so far, you might have already guessed that this is an event-based game, and that's one thing I really dislike about it. Grid has dozens upon dozens of vehicles that you can drive, but you can't just choose anything you want for any race. Every vehicle is locked to an event type in their own class, so even when you want to do a quick race, you have to cycle around and choose the right type of event to find the vehicle you want. And even when you do, some of the vehicles can only race against other versions of the same vehicle. If you're a big fan of the Ford GT40 like I am, you're a bit out of luck because the only place I've ever found it is the specific GT40 event that only races other GT40s. This greatly reduces the variety of cars in each race when you want to drive something specific. Once we get into gameplay, the game really starts to shine. There are tons upon tons of options and adjustments you can do to fit your racing style. If you're a more professional racer, you can turn assists off and you can modify all kinds of settings from ABS to traction control. You've also got a bunch of difficulty and control options, including gyro steering. And the gameplay just gets better once you start driving cars. The handling and feel of each car is a little bit different, not to the realistic extent of sim games like Gran Turismo, but enough that you won't be able to just go into a car you've never driven before and immediately master it. And now let's get into Continent Link, which is fairly decent. Even with the experience plus 50% cheat turned on, it took me about 3 career campaigns in each class to get them all up to level 3 and unlock the Grid series. That's roughly about 10 to 15 hours to unlock all of the base content, not counting the enormous amount of extra careers you can get in each class to be able to drive different vehicles. Now let's dive into presentation, which I was extremely impressed with. Graphically, this game looks absolutely incredible. It was the first game I played on my Switch Lite and I was blown away at how much detail there was. There's a lot of detail on the cars, the environments, and even the lighting effects and the interiors of the cars when you're in cockpit view. And Codemasters even gave us 3 different graphics options. You've got graphics mode that locks the frame rate to 30 FPS and increases the detail of pretty much everything. You've got performance mode that increases the frame rate to 60 frames per second while lowering a lot of the detail, especially with the shadows and lighting. And you've got energy saver mode, which is similar to performance mode, but it conserves energy so you get more battery life. But not everything about the graphics engine is great, and that mostly pertains to cockpit views, and we're going to show you an odd example. This is the interior of a GT40 on energy saver mode, and it looks great. And here is the same cockpit in graphics mode where everything is supposed to be highly upgraded and it's really blurry. I don't have anything bad to say about performance, so let's go right into battery life, and this is the first review where I will have battery readings for all three models, the original, the light, and the version 2 or red box. It's also going to be a bit longer because I took battery readings both for graphics mode and for energy saver, so let's get started. On the original model, graphics mode has a battery range of 2 hours and 23 minutes on high settings, up to 3 hours and 8 minutes on low settings. While Energy Saver mode has a battery range of 3 hours and 6 minutes on high settings, up to 4 hours and 32 minutes on low settings. For the Nintendo Switch Lite, Graphics mode has a battery range of 3 hours and 33 minutes on high settings, up to 4 hours and 25 minutes on low settings, while Energy Saver has a battery range of 4 hours and 11 minutes on high settings, up to 4 hours and 29 minutes on low settings. And finally, we have the V2 or red box model. Graphics mode has a battery range of 4 hours and 38 minutes on high settings, up to 4 hours and 55 minutes on low settings, while Energy Saver has a battery range of 5 hours and 22 minutes on high settings, up to 7 hours and 4 minutes on low settings. Now in conclusion, Grid Autosport is easily the best looking and feeling racing game on the Switch to date. Now on the downside, the event-based model it uses makes it a bit awkward and difficult for when you want to drive specific vehicles, and the lack of multiplayer at launch is pretty disappointing. But still, the game is amazingly optimized and looks great both on the TV and especially on the go. Reviews to Go rates Grid Autosport for the Nintendo Switch an 8 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.